Hello and welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I'm Temitope Fagbemi. On this edition of the program, a study on international terrorism ranks Nigeria 4th on the Global Terrorism Index for 2013. A deadly attack on a Jerusalem synagogue sparks fresh crisis in the Middle East. And good times are here for millions of illegal immigrants in the United States as President Barack Obama orders the most sweeping overhaul of the country's immigration system in decades. Finally, we'll take a look at the recently concluded G20 summit. Let's begin with the Global Terrorism Index 2014 report that was released by the London-based Institute for Economics and Peace on Tuesday, November the 18th. In the report, Nigeria is ranked below Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, while Syria is ranked 5th. According to the Global Terrorism Index 2014 report, there were nearly 10,000 terrorist attacks in 2013. That's a 44% increase from the previous year. This raises questions about the effectiveness of the Western counter-terrorism strategy since 9/11 that has seen US-led invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan, drone strikes in Pakistan and Yemen, and the use of proxy forces around the world. The report by the Institute for Economics and Peace said 4 groups were responsible for most of the deaths: Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, Boko Haram in Nigeria, the Taliban in Afghanistan, and Al-Qaeda in various parts of the world. This then makes one wonder, how did Nigeria's Boko Haram sect get so big? In the last 2 weeks alone, the group is believed to have struck in Adamawa, Bauchi, Kano, Kogi, and Yobe states, killing at least 60 people.
The warning signals have been there so many years in Nigeria, which successive administrators refuse to heed. They refuse to actually take seriously the warning signals. Now, in a situation whereby an individual, for instance, will steal the money that is meant for a whole community or the whole society, and pocket it and use it to do whatever, and even send his children abroad, buying big cars, and to the detriment of the whole polis in the same area.
So what has been done to tackle this menace?
It is imperative that Nigeria re-engineers her defense and security posture to cope with the threats. The DA system has a duty to help bridge the intelligence gaps in knowledge and the terrorist groups, the foreign source of support, training, weapons, funding, and the flow of foreign fighters.
This report is an urgent call to action, not only for Nigeria, but for the entire world. As things stand, 13 countries are identified as being at risk of increased terrorist activity. They are Angola, Bangladesh, Burundi, Central African Republic, Côte d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Iran, Israel, Mali, Mexico, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Uganda. In the meantime, Channels Television had an opportunity to attend the U.S. State Department press briefing on Monday, November the 17th in Washington, D.C., and our correspondent, Kayode Akintemi, took the opportunity to ask how the U.S. is assisting Nigeria in its anti-terror war. Here are excerpts from the briefing.
With respect to the fight against Boko Haram, the United States remains committed to helping the government of Nigeria address the threat that Boko Haram poses and to find and free those who have been abducted in Chibok and elsewhere. So we continue to support Nigerian efforts to bring them home, and we are providing assistance both through humanitarian programs, through sharing of intelligence and advising on strategic communications and other issues. We also continue to encourage Nigerian authorities to adopt a comprehensive approach to violent extremists. With respect to any talks that might be ongoing, I'd refer you to the government of Nigeria for any detail.
The issue of intelligence that the United States is sharing with Nigerian government We have had a chance of speaking with some people in government in Nigeria, and they're saying that there's not much coming out from the United States, and that United States is not really helping. And there was an allegation that United States said they're not going to help with anything because of the issue of, how do they put it from Nigerian government perspective? They said that United States government is actually turning their back on Nigeria because of the issue of human rights. This is the statement from the Chief of Defense Staff from Nigeria.
We have a long-standing and important relationship with Nigeria, and we value that highly. We're standing with the government and the people of Nigeria in the face of the lethal and inhumane attacks that Boko Haram has unleashed. And we're working closely with the Nigerian government and with the governments of neighboring states to counter these threats. We have existing programs to fight terrorism, and we also have new programs such as the Security Governance Initiative, also a global security contingency fund. So we're increasing our efforts to strengthen Nigeria's institutions. We've begun over the last 6 months to share intelligence with Nigeria. We've begun training a new army battalion. We've held numerous high-level discussions with Nigerian authorities on ways to meet the Boko Haram threat. So I think that record is clear, and we have stepped up our support and our cooperation with Nigerian authorities in face of this threat.
In the Middle East, hostilities were renewed last Tuesday when 2 Palestinians attacked a Jerusalem synagogue, killing 4 people.
2 suspected Palestinian men wielding knives and axes killed 4 people inside a synagogue in Jerusalem early on Tuesday, November 18th, before being shot dead by police. The attack happened in an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood of West Jerusalem. Palestinian radio reports describe the attackers as martyrs, and the Islamist group Hamas praised the attack. Loudspeakers at mosque in Gaza called out congratulations. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged to respond with a heavy hand and accused Palestine's President Mahmoud Abbas of inciting violence in Jerusalem.
אבל אסור לאף אחד, לקחת את החוק לידיו, גם אם...
There are some who want to uproot us from our state and capital. They will not succeed. We are in a battle over Jerusalem, our eternal capital. Mr. Abbas also condemned the attack, which took place after weeks of unrest, fueled in part by a dispute over Jerusalem's holiest shrine. He, however, added that Muslims have a right to defend their sacred places if attacked. We strongly condemn this incident and do not accept under any circumstances attacks on civilians. At the same time, we condemned these actions. We also condemn the attacks on Al-Aqsa Mosque, holy places. 3 of those killed in the attack held dual U.S.-Israeli citizenship, and U.S. President Barack Obama also expresses displeasure over the attack.
Obviously, we condemn in the strongest terms these attacks. A number of people were wounded, and 4 people were killed, including 3 American citizens. So this is tragedy for both nations, Israel as well as the United States, and our hearts go out to the families who obviously are undergoing enormous grief right now.
In one of Israel's first acts of retaliation, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the demolitions of the East Jerusalem homes of the attackers and the apprehension of a dozen of their relatives. Palestinians seek Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza, lands captured and occupied by Israel after the 1967 war for their future state.